It's very obvious that Magic the Gathering as we know it has been constantly changing, especially in the time frame of late 2022 to early 2023. And while we don't necessarily love all of the changes coming down the pipeline from Wizards of the Coast, and yes, when we don't, we definitely let them know, there is a big change, something that they didn't announce and have just done that have made it an amazing experience for regular people like you and I that just spend our money on the product to feel rewarded and fall in love with something that we have enjoyed for the better part of 20 or 30 years, however long we've been around the game. So walk through this with me today, where we talk about the major change Wizards of the Coast made, how it's on display more than ever with Lost Caverns of Ixalan, and what this means for the future of Magic with the play booster right around the corner. I always want to kick off by saying, like, hey, this is going to be a Magic the Gathering positivity video, and look around you, peep the comment section and everything. This is not an official Wizards of the Coast supported channel. This is just a Magic fan in his basement who's rapidly racing to 7K subs. But I also said earlier in the year, and even back into 2022, that standard sets felt like they didn't really have a home in our community, with standard not really being a thing, and Wizards trying to make Pioneer happen, and I think you could. There's just have to be some changes made. Listen, it all boils down to the fact that standard sets really didn't fit anywhere within our community. They felt like little Commander subsets, and it was often reflected in how we bought product. Most of the standard sets that we tracked early on in the data project were some of the worst selling products that we had the chance to add to the vault. But that has kind of taken a turn, and there's a big reason why. So I want to talk about Lost Caverns of Ixalan, go over how the set is selling and why this one change is something that you and I are taking to, and we gotta dig to kind of find out what it is. So without further ado, let's take a look at Lost Caverns of Ixalan. We know that the set just underwent release, and it came with a bit of, well, let's call it weirdness. The collector booster box is, or was, and maybe still might be a bit delayed, and that is reflected in not only the number of boxes sold, but also the price of the box. This box is holding steady at around $213, $215 to $213, with the average price over the inception of the product on TCG Player around $220. But this is an important product. The fact that this, while it's selling slowly because of the delay, is holding a good value is something we want to remember as we get into what this major change was. Now, the set booster box has been something that we as a community have always taken to, but it's never been more evident than in the last two sets. Both Wilds of Eldraine and Lost Caverns of Ixalan were extremely successful set booster boxes, and we see that here with the set booster box almost doubling up the number of collector boosters sold. Now, historically, we see these numbers being, we'll call it a little bit apart, but never quite double, except for the last two sets, and there's a major reason for this. But the set booster box, I will say, is a pretty awesome product to be a Magic player, a Magic fan who can just go into my local game store, pick up a set booster box for, $112, $115, $120 on some occasions, open it, and feel like I got exactly what I wanted or exactly what I paid for. Hint, hold on to that thought, is an incredible experience and something that's been missing from Magic for some time. Now, just to kind of go over, and I want to reiterate this point before we get into the change, and it's going to be quick, but the draft booster box is selling extremely slowly. It's selling extremely cheaply, and the main reason for this is, well, TCG Player, A, not a great place to draft, and B, most people just want to crack packs and open cards. I know there's a wonderful limited audience out there, but that happens at the local game store more than it happens on an online marketplace. So it also kind of shows us why Wizards of the Coast leaned more towards the set box when designing the play boosters, and we'll make sure to check out playability when those things come out. Make sure you'll hit that subscribe button, help us get to 7K, but also tune in when we evaluate the full change with the play booster. And speaking of change, the set booster and the collector booster highlight this change better than anything else, especially in the last two sets. For the first time in Magic the Gathering product, it feels like we're getting what we paid for. And hold on, it goes very deep, this theory that I have as someone who has loved the last two standard sets, especially compared to some of the other products that are out there. And yes, I'm a massive Brothers War Stan. You can see, based on where I record in the studio, there are just walls of serialized cards because I love that. I love the chase, I love the collectability, and I love that product. I actually even loved things like Dominaria United and Streets of New Capenna. I have a collector box. There's never a collector box of Streets of New Capenna more than arm's reach from me in this room. It's kind of a fascinating little tidbit, little piece of trivia. But more so than ever, these last two products feel like we're getting what we paid for. And what I mean by that is when you buy a set booster box, it follows the mantra that I have said for the last couple months on this channel, where it's you can get almost everything you can in that collector box in the set booster box. And that makes people who open the set booster box feel good. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to hit the coolest and most expensive stuff in every set booster box and they're all going to be bangers because they got stuff you can get on the collector in it. That is not what I mean. It also doesn't mean that it's perfect. It's still full of a million variants. We need to cut down the number of piles. I did a video watching Wizards of the Coast open their own collector booster box on their live stream, and they had like 40 piles, and they were calling things the fancy slot and the foil fit. Like it was wild. And they did a much better job in the last box opening, but it still showcases like the set box and the collector box stuff. Still not perfect. Still too many variants. But with the set booster box, almost everything is available to you. So people going in to purchase the product, when we go and spend our money on this, we have those boundless possibilities rolling through our mind. Not only the first pack, but the second pack, the third pack, and on and on and on. It doesn't feel like anything is truly out of reach. And even though there's some great stuff in that product. But it's not just the set booster box embodying this, oh my gosh, I'm getting what I paid for. The set booster box, more rares, more mythics, and they're meaningful. Like, yes, we're following that mantra. But the collector booster box, for the first time, at least in recent Magic history that I can remember, and maybe it was kicking off with Lord of the Rings with the crazy extreme chase, but it feels like there are things in these products that don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody this, but it feels like there's things that are actually really hard to get. The collector booster box has things that have an insanely low pull rate in them, and that makes them kind of collectible. It's an insane concept, and historically, the collector booster box, even in sets that I loved that I named earlier in this video, had just different treatments of the same card. And while that's a great way to create a wide variety of collectability for someone definitely interested in that set or in that theme or in that story, whatever it might be, the collector booster box having cards that are actually hard to come by, actually difficult to pull, means that the chase in that product is alive. And that is why people like you and I spend our money on the collector booster box. Part of us wants to feel that chase. Whether we believe it or not, every Lord of the Rings, the first special, not the special edition, the first collector booster pack that we opened, if you opened one out there, let me know if I'm wrong in the comment section below, but it was in the back of your mind. It was like, the One Ring maybe, but then there was also, the serialized Soul Rings. There was things that were legitimately hard to come by in this product. So when you purchased that product, you didn't necessarily just feel horrible. You were filled with excitement. You wanted to dig in. Every single card up to the last pack was a possibility of something super cool and super rare. And because of that, we have achieved something that I think Wizards of the Coast has been after for some time. The ability for people at multiple entry points, multiple cost bases, to buy a Magic product in things like Wilds of Eldraine, in things like Lost Caverns of Ixalan, and feel like they got what they paid for. They got their money's worth. Walk away from that purchase feeling good about themselves. And that right there is a massive win. It's something that has been missing from Magic the Gathering for some time. And the reshaping of the set booster boxes, these little tweaks where you can pull almost all of the stuff, and there's some really rare and high-end valuable things in these set booster boxes, combined with the chase nature and how we're feeling about the collector booster box, is something that we are definitely taking to. Now, all this had to happen, right, if you're following along, because Wizards of the Coast, we said this, I think it was almost 8 months ago, that we started hearing like, it seems like Wizards of the Coast, I think it was around Phyrexia All Will Be One, is actually kind of scaling back their print run. There's communications, there's murmurs, sources that I have within the industry are saying, we're kind of getting word that while we'll never say it publicly, we're aware that we're printing too much product and we're going to have to scale that back. And that has shown, and it does seem to be working. The recent products are holding for longer than they had been previously. And that's not an MTG Finance Bro or an investment thing. It's good because your game store can sell them at the same price for longer when they're stuck with back product. People like you and I want to go open. If they're holding them at a price, it means we are still buying them. That means we're still interested in the product. And we've created that, yes, I dare to say, a little bit, a smidgen of hope of a healthy economy. So that's my take on Magic the Gathering and this change. The idea that us, the community, our fans, and people like you and I that just love the game and buy boxes are enjoying the product and feeling like we're getting what we paid for because of these just small box tweaks. We were so close. In wrapping up, I will say I wish they had less treatments. I think there's still too many treatments. It still makes it almost impossible to open cards and do like a single store or anything like that. And while we're talking about singles, if you're aware of the indie TCG scene, I have some sorcery beta that I will be offering as box openings. Let me know in the comment section if you'd be interested in that. I'll be offering them at whatever market prices. And if you're a channel member for $5 a month, I'll be giving you a discount on that. Plus you get access to all the extra content and all the stuff. And finally, Friday Morning Magic. We do live streams every Friday going over some of this information, so make sure you're subscribed and tune in every Friday at 8 a.m. Central Time. Haven't shared a Hometown TCG video yet. What a better time than now. Thank you so much for hanging out. Until next time, you all know me. My name is Josh, and well, we will see you around.